Someday you'll smile, you'll dream, you'll open your eyes and smile. And we were blessed with our first child. It was a cold winter morning of November 2001 when my strained eyes were pleased to see my daughter Thamira, who brought a smile to our faces. And when I took her into my arms on the first day, I promised not to let any harm come her way. Like every other playful child, my daughter was growing up merrily in her pink health. But suddenly, she fell ill. Really ill.
On 3rd August 2003, a day indelibly stamped into the recesses of our minds began. A season of unmatched terror and sorrow that threatened to crush our family. My daughter Thamira was diagnosed with thalassemia. Inconsolable, searing pain would be our companion for weeks and months to come, and possibly forever.
She was not the only one. With around 3 million childhood malignancies per year, Indian parents are spending over millions of rupees just for the palliative treatment of their children, being prodded and pricked with innumerable needles and sent back with crestfallen expressions. These children have to live with sympathetic glances all their lives. Blameless, innocent lives of theirs are being robbed of the only luxury they were born with, the promise of a fulfilling life.
Could this situation ever change?
Yes, yes, it can. The dream of gifting your baby lifetime happiness at birth has now become a reality. And hence, we present to you a gift for life, an umbilical cord story.
Nowadays, one hears a lot about stem cells. What are they? Where do they come from? Stem cells are the master cells of the body, the building blocks of tissues and organs. The umbilical cord and the blood left in it at birth contain a vast diversity of pristine newborn stem cells that have demonstrated the ability to help other tissues and organs heal themselves after injury or disease. Hematopoietic stem cells found in the cord blood have been used for the past 20 years to regenerate the body's blood and immune system. Mesenchymal stem cells found primarily in the cord tissue itself have the ability to form tissues like the bone and cartilage. The stem cells from the umbilical cord and cord blood have distinct benefits compared to adult stem cells from the bone marrow. They are younger, have greater ability to multiply, and have had minimal exposure to environmental factors like viruses or chemicals that can interfere with cell structure and function. What remains a question is how these stem cells work together to help the body heal. Researchers theorize that this diverse population of cells functions like a symphony, each type having its own different role to perform in healing damaged tissue and cells. Current research suggests that they help orchestrate a natural repair process by helping to reduce inflammation, stimulate the formation of new blood vessels, increase blood supply to injured areas, and ultimately enabling injured cells to heal themselves.
The concept of retaining the child's umbilical cord was not alien to ancient India. According to an age-old text, Manav Dharmastra, the umbilical cord was stored in a copper capsule and buried, indicating that our ancestors probably knew that the human umbilical cord blood has medical significance. It was only in 1974 that the modern world researchers discovered the umbilical cord blood contains hematopoietic stem cells, and preserving the placental tissue as well as the umbilical cord blood has just picked up popularity in India. The first successful umbilical cord cell transplant took place in 1988 when the French used a newborn's umbilical cord cells to cure her sibling suffering from Fanconi's anemia.
Setting up of a cord bank is according to the guidelines given by ICMR DBT 2012. Collection of cord blood takes place 10 to 15 minutes after birth. It can be performed in both normal and cesarean deliveries. Baby's cord blood can be collected by your obstetrician, nurse or a technician. Double clamping is done closest to the fetal end while the placenta is still in utero, and blood is drawn using a syringe after povidone iodine swab sterilization of the site. Blood is then collected in a bag which is at a lower level than the syringe to ensure a higher blood supply. For cord tissue collection, 4 to 8 inches of cord is cut, coiled and stored in a specialized cord cup pre-filled with a transport medium. Both blood bag and cord cup are sealed in plastic absorbent pad and sent to the bank within 2 days. Before transport to the lab, the sample is collected in barcoded kits. This sample is now tested for transmissible diseases. Post-testing, the sample is processed in a clean room adhering to international standards of sterility and hygiene. The sample is further processed and the stem cells are now isolated. These stem cells then undergo a quality control analysis for count, viability, purity and potency. After this, they are frozen at the rate of 1 degree Celsius per minute till they reach minus 150 degrees Celsius. A quality check is performed again and finally they are cryopreserved at minus 196 degrees Celsius.
When and how do we use them? There are confirmatory results regarding the treatment of leukemia, anemia and immunodeficiency diseases. Treatment of embryomas like retinoblastoma and neuroblastoma have the potential to decrease child mortality rate. Storage disorders like mucopolysaccharidosis and Niemann-Pick disease are still being evaluated. It has now become possible to treat over 80 diseases today, 40 being cured in just last 3 years. As the building blocks of the body, mesenchymal stem cells have an ability to create organs, develop immune system, form bone, cartilage, muscle, and are responsible for regeneration. Research is now exploring its ability to treat many chronic diseases. While there have been published case reports about the above-mentioned diseases, treatment of cerebral palsy, type 1 diabetes mellitus, autism, hearing loss, stroke are still under clinical trials.
One of the major advantages is that the collection process is absolutely painless. The patient is subjected to a lesser amount of immunosuppressants as there is a lesser risk for graft versus host reaction. An average transfusion requires a single setting as opposed to the other stem cell sources, thus decreasing the total cost and decreasing the recovery time.
While a bone marrow or a peripheral blood smear transplant requires a 5x6 or a 6x6 HLA match, a moderate score of 3x6 is sufficient for an umbilical cord blood transplant. 95% of the patients who cannot find a bone marrow match can at least find a partial match with cord blood. Sadly, in India, against a requirement of 3,000 bone marrow transplants, only 700 received their match. Even after numerous donation camps, there was still a deficit. With a birth rate of 21 in just our little country and a viability of around 10 years, with cord banking, this situation is reversed. Let's make our population our asset. It is thus evident from all the sources available, umbilical cord blood is the most preferred one for stem cells. The ICMR study conducted in Karnataka by Vindu Vincent states that 84% of the nurses have poor knowledge about umbilical cord banking. To find out the popularity and awareness related to this topic, we conducted a KAP study with a sample space of 200 medical students in a tertiary healthcare center. Our aim was to find out the status of awareness and public opinion regarding cord stem cell banking. This survey amongst medical students revealed that 81% did not know about cord banking. 5% had a more detailed information. Amongst those who had knowledge, 66% agreed that this would be a milestone and would improve the quality of life. Adding further, 58% students wrote that they would recommend public banking to their patients. Besides the study, we also carried out an informal interactive sessions at the ANC wards at JJ Hospital Kama Hospital and St. George Hospital, where we talked about umbilical cord banking with expectant mothers. Here, we experienced a dismal response of the crowd towards umbilical cord banking. We explained to them the entire procedure and uses of a cord bank. The idea of a private cord bank was not seeping into their minds. However, they readily agreed for a public cord bank in a government hospital. One of them said, "A public cord bank is not only financially a better option, but the feeling of helping many other children apart from my own is definitely satisfying."
Dr. Vinita Salvi, an eminent gynecologist and the ex-head of unit of gynecology at St. G.S. Medical College, was kind enough to grant us an interview. This is what she had to say about it. There are two types of banks, public and private. Your donation in a public bank is anonymous, whereas a private bank acts as a personal safe. While private cord banks charge about 10 to 20,000 only for collection of sample, the same service is offered by a public bank free of cost. A child suffering from any genetic condition cannot be treated with his own cord blood. On the other hand, a higher number of diverse units can be stored in a public bank that have the potential to cure a majority of these conditions. Public cord banks have an upper hand over private banks as they cater even to the minority ethnic groups of the population. We also visited Dr. Lakshmi Rajgopal, Professor of Anatomy at St. G.S. Medical College and the author of a paper on umbilical cord mesenchymal stem cells. She said, which is 25% chances of getting a perfect match from your sibling in a private bank, there are over 70% chances of getting a proper match from a public bank. It's no wonder that while there have been 60,000 successful transplants from a public bank so far, there have been just 400 autologous transfusions from a private bank. The arbitrary question that one may never use his or her own cord blood cells does not arise in a setup of a public umbilical cord bank, as these centers make stem cells available to anyone who needs a new lease of life.
Umbilical cord banks are thus a dependable icon to trust upon. While most of the newspapers worldwide appropriately term it as a safety net for the newborn, these cord banks are a promise to rekindle hope even in India. Several cases of thalassemia have been successfully treated in the country between 2005 to 2012. Treatment of acute and chronic myeloid leukemia using these stem cells gained popularity after the first successful attempt at Apollo Hospital's Chennai. Umbilical stem cell transplant to the children of cerebral palsy paved way for a new research in the neurological field for children of Alzheimer's and autism too. Umbilical cord banking is thus like giving life twice.
Hence today, we are replanting a seed. It's an old seed, a seed that has grown into a tiny sapling in some countries, a sapling that has started bearing fruit elsewhere, a sapling whose branches are steadily inching towards the Indian market. In 2002, the first umbilical cord bank was established in India, and in 2008, Jeevan, the first public cord bank, was established. In 2013, the Tamil Nadu state government granted rupees 9 crores for the development of public cord banks in their state. And in 2014, Histostem, a South Korean company, is building the world's largest cord bank in Mumbai. 3 public and 7 private cord banks have already taken root in our country, and many more are slated to come. Let's help this seed bear fruit in India. This is our umbilical cord story. Now, let's go back into Thamira's life.
17th of March 2008, she had her last blood transfusion, this time of her newborn brother's cells. 17th of March, the day my daughter Thamira was reborn. The doctor said her hemoglobin and RBC levels are almost normal now. She came off all her medications too after a year. My daughter was eating laughing, playing, and studying like all other kids of her age. My family was fortunate enough to be helped by these NGOs. But how many of us are? How long do we count on these unending blood transfusions and painful bone marrow transplants? Do we rely on these upscale, uneconomical private cord banks and rely on the meager possibility of our subsequent children being healthy?
And hence, it is a need of the hour to have a much more economical public cord blood bank in at least one government hospital of the city. As medical students, it is our duty to create awareness about umbilical cord banking among common masses and to sensitize the medical fraternity and policy makers regarding the same. Making it almost a free procedure, these public cord banks will cater to all classes of society and help reforming this biomedical waste into a medical miracle for the mankind.
Let me ask you all a question today. What is the most resilient parasite? Is it a bacteria, a virus, an intestinal worm? No, it is an idea. Resilient, highly contagious. Once an idea has taken hold over the brain, it is almost impossible to eradicate it. The idea that is fully formed, fully understood, that sticks right there, somewhere. The idea of public umbilical cord banking to contribute towards a dream of a disease-free world. Every child has a right to live. Every child has a right to future.
If you keep hope alive, it'll keep you alive.
Thank you.
We'll now have the question answer round for Team H. Participants, please introduce yourself.
Sai Sautale, 6th semester.
Akif Reshamwala, 4th semester.
Shweta Rani, 6th semester.
Shweta Fadke, 6th semester.
Suchit Sawan, 6th semester.
Apurva Agrawal, 4th semester.
Dipanshu Dung, 6th semester.
Nikita Singh, 6th semester.
Mubashir Babar, 6th semester.
Chinmay Abhyankar, 6th semester.
It's a very good topic. You made it sound very easy and very easily accessible. So, how can you make it? How can you spread the awareness? How do you make a regular pregnant lady donate her cord blood?
Thank you for your question, ma'am. Ma'am, as medical students, we can always spread awareness about public umbilical cord banking amongst our own friends. Also, as other countries, like for example in Canada, which has made it a compulsory rule for all the obstetricians and gynecologists to convey it to their patients in the ANC clinic about umbilical cord banking. So we can have such rules in our country as well.
Ma'am, like in Canada, it is compulsory. Unfortunately, in India, our infrastructure has not developed so much that people from the lower economic strata can afford private banks. In states like Tamil Nadu, where there are public cord banks available, we should take an example from that state and try and establish public cord banks in Maharashtra as well. Only then can we promote public cord banks in India, in Maharashtra actually. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Hello.
You mentioned diseases treated by this umbilical cord blood. For my impression, they all seem very rare. And do you think an Indian government to spend that much money on these rare diseases, is it fair to ignore the common diseases?
One of the major conditions that can be cured by using umbilical cord stem cells is all these malignant leukemias and hematopoietic hemoglobinopathies and other diseases like thalassemia and sickle cell anemias. Also, when we researched, we came to know that the percentage of these cases in India is very high. So for that, we can always
Sir, even though these diseases are rare as compared to diseases like malaria, dengue or tuberculosis in our country, but that does not mean we ignore them. The government already has schemes regarding common diseases, but these diseases are often left untreated. And hence we came up with this topic.
Is there any bank in Mumbai?
Yes, sir.
Private or public?
Yes, sir. Most of the private banks have branches in Mumbai, like Cryobank, Relabs. Apart from that, in the public sector, Reliance set up its first public cord bank in India, in Mumbai itself. Thank you so much.
And finally, the most awaited results of the evening, MedX 2K15, the Battle of Brains. And it wouldn't be wrong to say that the competition was at its highest. Breathtaking speeches to virtually stimulating presentations to heartwarming messages, all compacted into a single entertaining package of mere 20 minutes. Now, I would like to call upon the stage our Dean Ma'am, Dr. Mehta, to do the honors.
Namaskar. Now we come to the finale, what we started yesterday. I think we have done the Z part. So the zenith is now coming to an end. It has reached its zenith. It was a well-fought competition of many things. I am supposed to announce the prize for what we always look out for. It is sheer coordination that you must all understand, because the technical team put up something and the speaker says something. They don't see what is happening behind. It's only us who see whether whatever they are speaking and the photographs and the videos are coming together or not. Anyway, second team, Terna, transgenders. First team, JJ, umbilical cord banking. चलिए come. I was not the judge, so you can't thank me. First best speaker is Nova and second best is Ashraf. And where am I supposed to stand?
Speaker, sir. The speaker. Yeah. You guys. Thank you so much.
I would just like to say something on behalf of my entire team of Grand Government Medical College. I would really like to thank the hospitality team of RGMC for an amazing work and organization. They, they were really fast, quick, I mean, good with everything. Whatever we needed, they provided us on time and really looked after us. Really, thank you so much for it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.